Good afternoon, and thank you for joining me on another episode of Ask Sharifah Videocast. This episode, like every episode, is a very special episode. But the reason this episode is so special is because it's a returning guest. I love all of my returning guests because we stay connected, we talk, we communicate, and we had such a wonderful, pleasurable time the first time that we said, hey, let's do it again. And so that's the case with today's guest. We're doing it again. So I'm telling you right now, I'm letting you know, go get your pen, go get your paper, whatever it is that you take notes on. If you're, new school and not old school and you no longer use the pen and the paper, that's fine. Get your recorder out, get Alexa out, whatever you have to do. But I know that you're going to want to take notes because we took notes on the first show. And so if you're watching the show live, I'm going to ask you to do what I always ask you to do. And that's to go ahead and share this video because friends, don't let friends miss out on Ask Sharifah. That's right. So if you're watching the show live, if you have questions or you have comments, please be sure to add them in the comment section and I'll go ahead and read them to our guests. So with all of that said, no more ado. We're going to bring our guest, Stacy Jones, who is the CEO of Hollywood Branded. Stacy Jones, good afternoon. How are you?
I am so well, Sharifah. How are you doing today?
I am amazing. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm excited to have you back. I'm just going ahead and sharing this live right now on my page so everyone can know that we're live. And I'm excited. Hollywood Branded, that's your company. When did you start Hollywood Branded?
Oh, I founded Hollywood Branded back in 2007. It seems like forever ago, and sometimes it seems like yesterday.
Yes, but 2007, and it's weird because we have, I think internet years are like dog years. You know what I mean? It's like 2007, if I were working a day job, I was like, oh, 2007. Yeah, she's been around. But like 2007 on the internet is like 50 years. It's the equivalent of just being around forever. So back in 2007, what was the motivation for Hollywood Branded?
Sure. So I had spent over a decade working at an agency that I ran. And we had a lot of success, and I hit that proverbial glass ceiling where I was never going to go above executive vice president. It wasn't going to happen. It was dangled. It was promised. It was never happening. So I left, and I started Hollywood Branded, and we did a lot more things than we had done at the other agency, and it was so much fun being able to craft my own way, and we really were able to forge a whole new world because that little word of influencer marketing was just starting to pop up, and that was something that I founded my agency around.
Wow. Now, Stacy, so many people tune in to Ask Sharifah Videocast for one reason, and that is to find out the how to do it, because the majority of the people that tune in are entrepreneurs. They're entrepreneurs, they're business owners, they're people who may be at a day job, but who are interested in stepping out on their own, doing their own business, whether it's an affiliate business, an MLM, but they want to get out of their day job. Listening to you and your conversation, you hit the glass ceiling and you wanted to step out on your own. Let's talk about that process. What was that process like? Did it take 2 months? Did it take a year? Did you save up money first? Like, what was the process like?
It actually took years. I complained. I made comments to my friends, my family. Everyone heard that I really wanted to do something else. But I was one of those people, I was there for 10 years and ultimately. And I was one of those people that, back in the day, you didn't leave your job. You stayed at your job. You continued working at your job. And if you worked hard, you would be rewarded. But at one point, the reward stopped. I was still making money. I was making a lot of money. But I wasn't having the growth that I was looking for. And, I'm a big believer that if you don't continue to grow, then you really are starting to die. And I counsel all of my employees at the office that if they find themselves where they're not growing at our agency anymore, then it's time to go and set off for a new adventure. And that's really what I counsel everyone on. And so for years of talking about this, years of muttering about it, I finally pulled it and did it. And it was kind of a little unexpected, I think, to the owners of that agency because I gave them 6 months notice. And that was a lot of notice.
Yes. I've never even heard of that kind of notice.
Right, because I was really dragging my feet. And then I was expecting that my notice would, I think, scare them into saying, oh my gosh, you're so invaluable. You run our company. We can't have you leave. And that they'd finally step forward with all the things that they'd promised me. But 6 months went to 5 months, went to 4 months, went to 3 months. And all of a sudden I realized I had this moment where I woke up, and it was a scary moment. And I realized I had to get out of there and I had to leave. And I gave my 2 weeks notice.
Okay. So you didn't do the entire 6 months. You did about 4.5 months, and you were out.
I was out because it got really weird there. Like, they started putting up cameras. It got really weird. Like, they were convinced I was going to steal everything. Now, I had invented everything, so there was nothing to steal because it's all in my head. Right. But it got weird. It just got really, really weird. And it was time to leave. And I hadn't ever experienced anything like that. And I was a very loyal employee. And so I set off and had some money savings in my bank account, and just decided that I came up with a name of a company, and I decided I was just going to move forward and do it.
Wow. Congratulations. I applaud you on taking that step. So you went out there, you did it, you created Hollywood Branded because you had been an agency, you were familiar with influencer marketing, and you said, hey, I'm going to step out on my own. That's amazing. It's what we all want to do at some point, I believe.
Yeah. And then I promptly got sued by my former employers. It was awesome. It was awesome. Wow. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So I know, the lawsuit is closed. We don't want to go into too many.
Oh, no, it went to nothingness. It was in California. What your listeners need to understand is that their employers can tell them that, they can't go out, they can't start their own businesses. They can. It depends on what state you're in, obviously. But like in California, you don't have rights to actually stop someone from furthering their own career path. They can't steal. You can't steal clients. Didn't do that. You can't steal intellectual property. I didn't do that. You can't do that. But you should never, ever be scared to take the skills that you've learned on a job and go out and do it better.
And that's what you did. You went out, created Hollywood Branded. And I know, being in Long Beach, being in California, I definitely understand what you mean. Usually there's some type of clause in a contract, if there's an actual contract where it says you cannot start your own business in the same industry, and maybe it's a time frame, maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's 2 years, and maybe there's a non-compete clause that you sign when you start the job. But at some point, just with the skills and the asset, you can go out and, like you said, do it better. So when you started this company, what were some of this company being Hollywood Branded, what are some of the things that you learned initially? That obviously we wish that things are smooth sailing, that everything is just so perfect. We start this company, we make a lot of money, we get all these clients. But was there anything where you were surprised when you went as a CEO, okay, doing everything is a lot harder than it looks?
Yeah, so I had thought that I had done everything when I was working at that other agency, but I wasn't doing the financials. I wasn't doing the, QuickBooks. I wasn't doing accounting. There were things I wasn't doing that I never even had thought of. I didn't think that there was a reason to actually have lunch with your business banker. And it can help because it can open the doors for you for different things as a business owner, right? So, there was a lot I learned. I really entered this not knowing. I knew how to serve my clients well, and I knew how to do sales. So I knew how to get money in, and I knew how to keep clients happy. What I didn't really know how to do is all the elements that go around supporting that. And so that was a lot of learning on the job. Yes.
But I mean, hey, you learned it. You've been in business. You're making it happen. You're one of the people that I love to watch with everything that you're doing. But it's also one of the things that I speak about as a business consultant. People always ask, what is the one business that is guaranteed to be successful? And I always answer, the one business you're willing to do day in and day out. It doesn't matter the product. It doesn't matter the service. You have to have passion for it. But just because you have passion for something doesn't mean that you automatically and instantaneously know how to operate a business. You can love, rice, okay? But does that mean you can be your own sushi chef and fix all these fabulous recipes? It still takes research. It still takes accounting, like you mentioned, the QuickBooks, the business aspect of it. And as employees, too often we only see our job and our role that we're responsible for. So as the CEO of the company, it's like, now I have to do all of this. So I always recommend people, if you have the passion, don't kill the passion, but take some classes, take some accounting classes, take some business classes, take some marketing classes. What are some of the things that you did in order to be successful at doing everything?
I'm one of those people who believe that I can really solve any problem that's in front of me. So I see everything as something that's doable. I don't think about it as, can I do this? Oh my gosh, I don't know how to do it. I really believe in fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
And I might live that a little too well, but I think that's what successful entrepreneurs need to do. They need to be able to look at anything and not be scared by it and just take a step forward. You can always pivot, you can change direction, you can stop, but you have to keep moving. So as long as you are at least attempting and moving, and there's so many resources nowadays online that you can go and look at, and online classes and people and mentoring groups, and people like sharing advice.
Yes, they do. So let's share some advice with our listeners. If you are just now tuning in to Ask Sharifah Videocast, again, I implore you, please go get your notepad, your pen out, take some notes, because we're going to be discussing one of my favorite topics, which is branding, with the CEO of Hollywood Branded, Stacy Jones. If you have questions or if you have comments, please be sure to ask those in the comment section, and I'll go ahead and ask Stacy Jones. So, Stacy, Hollywood Branded, it's the influencer marketing, the advertising. Tell us a little bit more about branding and how you see branding.
Sure. Okay. So as a quick highlight, what our agency does is we're an influencer marketing and branded content firm. So we work with brands and we partner them with TV and film and music and celebrities and influencers, leveraging pop culture so that any brand has that power of being on multiple screens by third parties. And it's really cool stuff. And I will tell you, Sharifah, a minute ago, you mentioned, having a passion. And I have a passion because I know pop culture helps brands sell. I know it. I've seen it. I've seen the sales happen. I can read something and know if it's going to work or not. But I don't have a passion for actors and celebrities. So, it's not about having a passion for the rice that you're working with necessarily. It's about having a passion for believing that whatever you're creating and what you're putting together is having a positive benefit on someone else. And so that's what I think is a really big fundamental with even branding. So if you're a brand, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a corporation, and you're looking at branding, you're looking at how can you get your brand to be seen in a light by other people that's positive and that answers needs that they might have. And you do that through so many different things. You do it through logos. You do it through your positioning statements about who you are. And you do it with who you align with as well. And that's where companies like mine come in, because we're aligning you with cool things that are trend setting. So all of a sudden the brand looks a little cooler.
Yes. Okay, so how do you align a business? Does it have to be at a certain stage, a certain level, offering a certain product or service? How do you say, you know what, you're selling, this is going to be my latest product. I'm the company who makes scissors. Scissors is my product. And you know what, I would really love for an influencer to market my product. What is it that you look at as far as the product or service before deciding, okay, well, let's go ahead and brand your company?
Okay, so first we'll look at on the scissors, what solution is that scissors providing? Is it a scissors for someone who's a crafts person, who is into art, who is going to be stitching, creating, and that's going to be a solution? Or is it going to be scissors for someone who is they have children and they need something that is not sharp, that's not going to injure someone? Or is it scissors that are being used for exact precision, for cutting, for something on the job that is at some sort of architectural firm? So you look to see, first of all, what is the product and who is the audience for that product? So you can figure out who is your brand speaking to. So that would be the very first step. And for your brand, you can be speaking and utilizing everything from, content, right? So content comes in many forms. Content comes in for brands who can afford it and have money, TV shows and feature films and music videos. That's super sexy content.
Yes.
But also content that is sexy. But there's also content that is going to come in that is your local news program, regional programs. Is it, you are a brand and you're looking at content? Is there something that you're sponsoring on a local level? And they're going to create social media content for you out of that. Are there influencers that you can work with who are going to share who your messaging is, who your brand is through their own content? So all of that's part of it. So it really doesn't matter the size of who you are, because I speak with doctors who are very local based and they're trying to get the word out about their practice, or we speak with global corporations that are trying to get their product seen by millions, and there's opportunities for everyone.
Oh, wow. So, so would you say that every business has to focus on their brand from the beginning? Because I know
Yes.
too often as local businesses or small business owners, maybe it's a restaurant. You see, you can tell I love to eat, but the local, I always go with the food, the local restaurant, they just want to make their hamburgers and French fries, or, I love ceviche. That's my new thing. I love me some ceviche, so maybe they're not focused on their brand. What would you say to that business owner to take into account their brand at the initial stages of their company?
Sure. So then the content that you're looking at for that type of company, like a restaurant on a local basis, you're looking at content that is social. So what is being said about your brand, your restaurant on Yelp, right? So that's super important, because nowadays people are using social in order to discover the insights that they want to know about before they go somewhere or before they purchase something. And third-party platforms like Yelp provide that, and they give a whole lot of detail into who your brand is. They can say whether or not you have good food, whether or not your ambience is nice, whether or not your servers are good, whether or not management comes quickly and fixes problems if there is a problem. All of those things are very core components on who that business's brand is.
Now, I don't know if you have this or not, but I'm going to ask Stacy, do you have like a checklist of items that a new business to take a look at when starting their brand? I know you mentioned the logo earlier, but aside from that, what are some of the things that a company should take into account?
I don't have a checklist, but off the top of my head, in regards to I'll make it up. I can make up a checklist. So, if I was starting a company and it was newly launched, the first thing I would look at is, how is my brand being communicated to other people? That's your logo, right? So nowadays, you don't want things that are super cursive and hard to see. You want things that are clean, that are bold, that stand out in photos. I mean, everyone that is around, people are looking at images in a very different way now, because people are so overexposed to influencers and content having brands that it's very easy to look at something and be like, oh, that's a weird logo. That's a weird company, right? That's a weird color. Why'd they choose that? That's strange looking. Those things actually matter. There's studies done that matters on someone's psychology on what they think about a company. I would also look at who you want your brand to be. So that starts at your CEO level. That starts with the founder of the company. They are part of the brand. And that goes into your employees too. They are part of your brand. Are you a restaurant or a company that's known for pithy remarks, and you're fun and you sing birthday songs and you're always cheery? So is that someone who your brand is? That all goes into it. That means that your employees need to be pithy, cheery, and able to sing. So you need to start looking at what are those things that are important to you as a company that you're setting up that other people are looking at. What are the things that you could tangibly say, how do you differ from someone else? How does brand X that you have, how is it different than all those other letters in the alphabet? What makes you stand out? It is your logo. It is your voice. And that, again, starts at the CEO and trends downward. It is your positioning in the marketplace. It is the products that you provide. And how do you do it? Do you have the exact same hamburger maybe than everyone else, but you provide it in different packaging to people? Or you provide it with that song, or you provide it with an experience, or you just provide it with really good service? And all of those make up what a brand is.
So for you, with Hollywood Branded, what made you decide to come up with the name Hollywood Branded itself? I mean, it could have been a million different things. Branding, we brand, Hollywood branding. But Hollywood Branded has, to me, at least, a certain connotation. It means that it's branded by Hollywood, which kind of, to a certain extent, gives it our thumbs up, our seal of approval. So when you created the name and launched the company, what were your thoughts behind your brand?
Yep. So I had just gone down to La Jolla to speak at a conference about product placement. And afterwards, the gentleman who was hosting the conference said to me, you should write a book. You have so much information. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Ha, ha, ha. One wants me to write a book. Look at that. I just spoke at a conference. Someone suggested I write a book. Now, this is a good 12, now it's like 15 years ago, probably 14 years ago. And several years before I started the agency. So it was one of those beautiful California days, Sharifah, you know what I'm talking about. And you're on the highway, and for once, the 405 is moving. And I had a convertible, and I had this really cool headphone in that allowed me to talk, even though I had the convertible down, because I commuted so much in those days. I was driving 3 hours a day to and from work. That's how I kept myself entertained, was talking to friends and family. I was talking to my grandmother. And I said, oh, Nana, my speech just went so well. I did a good job. But guess what? They suggested I write a book. And she's like, oh, Stacy, that's marvelous. That's wonderful. What would you call your book? And out of the blue, out of the ethers of the universe, I said Hollywood Branded.
Oh, wow.
And I had no idea how that came to me, but it stuck around, and it stuck around. And when I founded this agency, I knew that was the name of the company.
Oh, wow. That is beautiful. Talking to Nana, and you got your business. So you've taken different levels. You've gone through different stages of your company since you launched it initially. Okay. You also have your podcast. Was that at the beginning or something that evolved?
Oh, no. The podcast started in the last 2 years. Okay. So I started in 2012. I heard about blogging, that we should be doing this as a business. I needed to blog. I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to blog? And I decided I was going to do this, and this was going to be part of our marketing efforts. And this is really when people were just as agencies starting to get around to doing it. There were blogs out there, but not a lot. And I made myself write a blog, one every single solitary week. And I put it on our WordPress site, and I did nothing about it. I just put it up, didn't market it, didn't really do anything. And then I pushed myself, and I'm like, gotta do 2 blogs a week. Okay, I can do this. I can do this. And what I found was that it started becoming really easy to blog, because I would have a conversation with someone, usually a prospective client or potentially a client that I already had. And I'd be talking to them about the fantastic ideas I have and how these solutions would be perfect for them. And they just weren't getting it. And I could have talked to them forever, and I could just tell on the other end of that phone or in person that it was just, So I would go home or go back to the office, and I would write an email to them and say, these are the things I just was thinking about. Here's more detail. And I would do this addressing the problem that they have. And then I would take that, and sometimes I would actually send it to them. Sometimes I didn't, but I would turn it into a blog. And so that gave me the start of doing how-to blogs that we started and we created, and that became the entire background to our blog platform. We now blog 5 days a week. All of our team blogs. It's not just me. I also do the podcasts, and I actually turned the blogs into podcasts when I was doing solo podcasts instead of interview podcasts. I hit 100 of those podcasts, listening to myself give guidance and talk to people. Got a little tired listening to myself. So I decided to start interviewing people, and that's how I actually came across you, because I interviewed you on my show. Yes. And so from there, we just kept on growing it. And now we do 2 podcasts a week, and we publish them. And we look at ways that we can repurpose. And what I've actually done is taken my podcasts, not the interview series, but my own 100 standalone, and I've turned those into classes. So now I have an online platform at learn.hollywoodbranded.com where I can sell to people how to do what I do, but at super affordable costs if they can't afford my agency or they're just not ready to work with an agency. And they can learn how to do influencer marketing or celebrity endorsements or product placement or PR without having to have someone else help them. And it was all created because I wanted to help clients understand how to do this themselves.
Okay, well, let me make sure I heard you correctly. And I'm over here. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm taking my notes as well. But you were saying, they can take these classes and learn how to do what you do if they aren't able to take on an agency. But when you mention things like celebrity endorsements, how? Like, can you give us, because everybody thinks, oh, I have this wonderful product. My scissors are the best. I just know if I can get it into Tiger Woods' hands. I don't even know why that came, but you know what I mean? Like, all of a sudden, everybody's going to use my scissors.
They might love your scissors. It just depends, right? But, celebrities do have the ability to propel. We counsel people that it's not likely that a celebrity is going to pick up your scissors and have them become an overnight success, but you just never know. I worked with Fiji water and I put it on Friends, and I also made sure Fiji water was given to the cast of everyone on Friends, so that Jennifer Aniston would leave with her case of water every week. Matthew Perry would, and press would pick it up and see it, and that helped propel that brand to the success it is today. And it was because of doing things like that with seeding and getting product into a celebrity's hands. So you don't know what could happen. But there are a lot of ways to do it. And you can reach out to celebrities directly. You can send product to their management. Or better yet, you can look at charities that they might be involved in and do something with their gifting bags. You could do something where you're working with a celebrity gift lounge and provide product there. There's different costs to everything that you do. It doesn't have to be $1 million. But it is going to cost you probably a little something.
Absolutely. Now, what if someone wants to be an influencer? How do you work with them, or is there a class for influencers?
Well, our influencer marketing classes are geared for brands and agencies. However, they give an influencer, and I've had a number of influencers take them because they want to understand what brands are looking for and how brands are evaluating other influencers and what they find to be valuable. So we'll eventually do our own influencer standalone class series, I'm sure. But right now, the introductory influencer class really does work well to let an influencer understand what numbers they need to get up to, what type of pricing they should, expect to be paid, what type of content they need to be generating, and what type of reporting they need to be doing, what type of contracts that they should have. So all of those things go into what we talk about with people.
And that's all available on your website, Learn?
Yeah, it is.
What's your...
It's learn.hollywoodbranded.com. So learn.hollywoodbranded.com. And if anyone wants to email me, because I did not bring a code, I should have brought a code to your show, right? But if they want to email me, I will give you a free guide class on how to work with social influencers.
Oh, wow. I think I'll take that myself. I'm going to send you an email and sign up because I would love to learn how to work with influencers, how to build my brand. I'm always looking for new opportunities to get the word out about everything that I'm doing. So I appreciate that. Again, if you are just now tuning in, we are speaking with the CEO of Hollywood Branded, Stacy Jones, and we are learning so much. We're learning about branding, marketing. We got a little quick checklist on some of the things that you should set up. And I think the information is amazing. If you missed any of it, you definitely want to catch this show at the top of the show in the archives. You definitely want to visit Stacy's website at hollywoodbranded.com. But we're not going to let you go that fast, Stacy. I have so many more questions for you. I love your brand. Let me just say that. When I was a guest on your show, I had been doing a lot of different interviews. I did podcast interviews, I did Zoom interviews, and the majority of the people who did the interview, at the most, they would send me a link that says, hey, here's your link, download it, especially with podcasts. But when I received your information, it was branded. It not only had your brand, but it had my brand as well. And it showed that you take a lot of time, effort, and energy, even editing and creating a graphic for the brand. Is that something that you initially started with on the podcast when you started the interviews, or was it something that evolved over time where you said, you know what, let me help market them. Let me, give them their own special exposure.
Yeah, I think it's because what I do influencer marketing, right? So I look for ways brands can shine in other people's content. And I want the brands, the individuals, the entrepreneurs, the CEOs, the marketing experts, the lawyers who are on my show to shine on my content too. And so that's why we go the extra mile, because we want to create content that is super shareable, because the more they share it, the more it's going to build up my own brand. And we also want to thank people for their time and participation, because we know that all of this is time and energy, and there's only so much of it that we all have. So that's why we do it.
No, I definitely love it. I think that you're a leader. I think that you're amazing. I definitely think you're amazing, Stacy. I like the fact that you went out there, you created this company. You said, I'm going to make it happen. And since 2007, which is, again, 50 years in internet years, you have been making it happen. What are some of the new changes or activities that you have going on? Did you ever write that book? That was my question. I almost forgot. Did you ever write the book?
I did. I have 2 books. They're both going through publishing right now. And then I have a literary agent who is having me write another book that probably will be released before the others, because the first 2 I wrote are going to be more reference books and used in seminars. And I'm writing it more of a consumer-friendly paperback version of those books to be shared about how to create better branding and utilizing third-party content to do so.
Interesting. What can you tell us about quickly? Because again, we don't want to go too much. You have to read the book. But what are some of the ways to best utilize third-party content?
Well, it talks about just how, if you can, and how to get into, on a local level, news programs, right? So how do you actually go about that? If you have a brand, you're in your community, you're not this big global company, you're not a national company, what steps do you need to take? Who do you need to reach out to? What type of media should you have conversations with? I also talk and share a lot about how to build your media relationships. We just had something that was so special and so phenomenal happen for my company, where I always speak with reporters. I don't even care what outlet they are. If you're a reporter and you identify yourself as a reporter, I'm going to speak with you. I usually even speak with college kids writing thesis papers. I'm all about getting the Hollywood branded name everywhere that it could potentially matter. And I woke up on a Monday morning after being up quite late the night before watching my favorite TV show. And what the reporter on the other end of the line was calling about was that lovely Starbucks cup in Game of Thrones, that whole snafu. I'm sure you remember it. It wasn't that long ago.
I heard about that.
Yeah. So I spoke with a reporter, and she didn't know a whole lot about product placement. She had a lot of questions about it, and I took the time. I took about an hour in talking with her, and then I took another hour in writing an email and providing detail and really trying to educate her and teach her about what this industry is, how things happen, because it was not supposed to have a Starbucks cup, and it wasn't actually a Starbucks cup. It wasn't supposed to have a coffee cup or anything that was modern day in Game of Thrones.
Right.
And I got rewarded from that because it was Market Watch, and that article that went viral. And that next day I woke up and I'm like, oh my gosh, it went viral. I had tens of millions of views. This is so cool. Well, CNBC reached out to me, and Business Insider, and Money. And I did similar interviews with all of them. And we got so much exposure from that. And it was only because I'm used to working with press outlets. I'm used to over-delivering. In each of those cases, I went above and beyond and tried to provide each of them with unique content and more insight. So we ended up getting $68 million of media value for Hollywood Branded at a tune of over 4 billion online media impressions around the world, not even counting television. So that's something I talk about, and why the importance of the media is so important to you as a brand, and how you need to sculpt and craft that. And it's all about relationships, because everyone, the influencer, the TV reporter, or the print editor, the movie producer, everyone's just a relationship, and you're really just trying to serve and provide so that you'll get something reciprocal on the other side of it as well.
Okay, so congratulations. That is huge. That is definitely huge. I can just imagine waking up to that type of viral success. One of the things that you mentioned is the relationships, the conversations. The reporter called you in regards to the Starbucks cup on Game of Thrones. I'm trying to understand, how did the reporter make the connection to you?
Yeah, so it's all because of our blogs, honestly. It's all because of the other press that I do. I do so much media. I'll talk to anyone. But our blogs lead anyone. If you're Googling, like, we have optimized everything. So with over 1,000 blogs, if you pretty much Google on any subject on something that we work on, we're going to pop up on that first page. And all of our blogs are written to provide help and advice and insight. So it's pretty strong content, and we get ranked really well from it. So if a reporter is looking for something, they might find my agency because of a Google search. Or we just had, usually I get a lot of calls for when celebrities have fiascos in their lives. Something happened with me branding brands that now I also have a reputation for being an expert in celebrity brands. Mm-hmm. So there was a crossover. So now anytime a celebrity messes up, they have an affair, they get someone pregnant, they step out wrong, they get a DUI, whatever, they break up, whatever it is they do, I get called and I do media interviews talking about that. So that's interesting because that's opened up a different world of conversations. So you don't necessarily have to, you know how I said earlier that fake it till you make it?
Yes.
Like, let opportunities come your way and be honest and, have integrity, but you don't have to know exactly what you're doing if you actually have a point of thought to give. So you don't, for an entrepreneur, I think the biggest thing is don't second guess yourself. Mm-hmm. Like, know you got it. If you don't got it, you're going to figure it out. So you just have to kind of step forward and keep moving. And that's what all of this is about.
Amazing. Now, Stacy, you have been amazing. I took some notes. I learned a lot. I'm going to take your class. I'm definitely going to take that. Thank you again for that free offer for anyone who watches the show, who emails you. Now, we are coming down to the last few minutes of the show. And what I like to do at the end of every show is just allow my guests the opportunity to speak directly to the viewers and let them know what you want them to take away from your interview.
Well, I think I kind of said it. As far as entrepreneurs go, it's the go. That's the word. Go do, move. It's so easy, whether you're in a relationship, whether you're in a job that you're unhappy in, it's so easy to stay because, it's scary to make a change. And the pain, is a lot easier to deal with than the unknown of what might happen. I mean, oh my gosh, you leave your company, you might fail. Well, okay, so you might fail, then you'll get another job with someone else again, and at least you've proven the fact that you tried. So, just try to figure things out to get yourself to have momentum, to keep yourself moving, keep pivoting, look at the opportunities that pop up, because what you set out to do might not be what you set out and become, but just keep on going and doing and trying and fake it till you make it.
I love it. One of my favorite expressions, fake it till you make it. Thank you for being a guest on today's episode of Ask Sharifah Videocast.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
You are so welcome. I want to thank everyone who tuned in to today's show. Thank you for your support. I saw you out there, Stacy. Saw you out there, Leora. Thank you all for tuning in. Few more people joined us. We were having such a great conversation, didn't have time to acknowledge everyone, but I do thank you for your support. Thank you to everyone who's watching this show in the archives. Be sure to share it with a friend because friends do not let friends miss out on Ask Sharifah. If you're interested in watching more interviews or in sponsorship opportunities or being a guest, visit the website at AskSharifah.com. Until then, everyone have a wonderful day. Bye now.
Bye.